Hi, this is Bobby G, and this is Bobby G's Big Stone ATX. I am so excited for my guest today, my good friend David Pulkingham. David has played with all the greatest in the world, and David makes everyone else sound better.
Ah, you're a sweet man.
David, why don't you start us out with just a little something, and then we'll get into it.
I don't want to write a song today. I don't want to write a song. I don't want to write a song today. I don't want to write a song. So many people living desperate lives. How can someone such as I get a chance to sit down and subjectify? I don't want to write a song today. I don't want to write a song. I don't want to love a woman true. I don't want to love a woman well. I don't want to love a woman true. I don't want to love a woman well. Ah, the chances I've been given, the wreckage can't be hidden, and a broken heart rings loud like a Sunday bell. I don't want to love a woman true. I don't want to love a woman well. But this is my true desire, to set our hearts on fire. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I just want to make you happy, and I want to see Bob Gold smile, just like that. I just want to make you happy, and I want to see you smile. Well, most folks, they keep on going with a little chance of knowing that for someone else they might have made it all worthwhile. I just want to see you happy, and I want to see you smile. Smile, smile. I didn't want to write a song today.
Well, bang, we're out of the chute.
Well, that was a song about not wanting to write a song. I failed miserably.
When did you write that one?
I actually wrote that one. It's been a while. I was actually traveling. I was in Oslo, and I had really bad jet lag. So it was like 3 in the morning, and I was just wide awake. And you know, when you have jet lag, you kind of have these fever dreams. Okay. And you know, it's kind of like this weird, out-of-body weird experience. And I made the mistake of being like, oh, okay, I'll just turn on the news to see what's going on at home. And the first thing on the news was the shooting at the Pulse nightclub in Orlando. And I was just like, oh, not again. It's our peculiar inheritance over here in America that we have so many of those, you know. And it just, the other thing is like when you're a songwriter, you're supposed to basically kind of mine everything for a song. You know, like a conversation with you, it's like, as a songwriter, I'm like little things that might be said are back in the brain, and I'm like, oh, that's usable. And at that point in time, I was like, I just don't feel like writing anything. I just felt completely kind of deflated.
Wow.
And then that started happening. I was like, well, let's write a song about feeling like not wanting to write a song. And that's what happened.
That's a beautiful song.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So David and I met 10 years ago?
Yeah, I was thinking about that today. I think it was about 9 or 10 years ago.
Yeah. I remember, this is how I remember the conversation. Mm-hmm. I remember sitting at Vespaio.
That was it?
And there was an open seat next to me.
Yeah.
And you said, do you mind if I sit down?
Yeah.
And I believe I said I was hoping for a pretty girl to sit down.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
But sure, sit down. And we just started chatting.
Yeah.
And,
that's exactly how it happened, actually.
Did they have the Pulkingham then?
I think they did. I think they did have the Pulkingham.
I didn't know you were famous.
I think at that point in time they did have the Pulkingham. I think it was on their cocktail list. Yeah.
But I remember, we were just chatting, and you said how you traveled a lot.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, what line of work are you in that you do so much traveling? And you said, well, I'm a touring musician.
Yeah.
And we had a great conversation.
Yeah, we did. And, and my memory of it also was that at that point in time, you turned around and engaged me really fully and was like, well, that's interesting. And you were like, I'm very curious about certain things that certain people do. Do you mind if I ask you some questions? And that's where we started rolling with the conversation at that point.
Yeah. That's funny. I think I also asked you my canned question about a first memory.
Yeah, you did ask me that. Mm-hmm.
And I think it was you, or I think yours was on a high chair.
That's it.
Rocking back and forth to the beat that was in your head.
Well, and
you dumped it.
And the high chair dumping, yeah. That is my first memory. Yeah, and shortly thereafter, this is so awesome that you remember that. Wow. Shortly thereafter, the next memory is of my mom. Remember those old kind of rubber blue ice packs?
Sure.
Back from the 60s, yeah. Was my mom with one of those on my head. That was the memory that follows that.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Trip down memory lane, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Well, tell us about. So we were having a conversation earlier, and you've been working with Patty Griffin.
I have last 11, almost 12 years.
And she slowed down a bit, I guess, to write some music.
Yeah, this year's been a little bit of a down year.
To do an album and take care of some family issues. Mm-hmm. And so you've engaged more in working here in Austin.
The local. Yeah, the commerce of the local community. Yeah, more than I have in at least 15 years or so. I've been making most of my bones out on the road and then coming back and kind of doing what I want to do, in Austin. But sometimes, there have been some years, not in the last 10 years as much, but in the 10 years before that where I was out 280, 300 days a year. Which will take the paint right off you after a while.
It's a young man's game, right?
That is a bit of a young man's game, for sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so tell us about being back in Austin and engaging in the Austin music community and some of the places you play. Tonight you're going to be playing at
C-Boys. Mm-hmm. With Susanna Chaffel. Mm-hmm.
And that's a killer show.
It's great. She's wonderful. She's... Well, first and foremost, it's a top-down thing. She is just a fantastic human being. And she's a true Austinite.
She's from Austin,
yeah,
isn't she?
And she just kind of exudes that. And so she's just very relaxed. She's got a beautiful voice. She writes beautiful songs.
She does.
And she loves to have fun and create things. And that's just a beautiful dynamic.
It seems like everyone's having a really good time on stage.
Everybody
Because she mixes
is.
it up, the people that back her up.
Yep, she mixes it up, and she mixes up the set list every week. It's like right around, actually it was about an hour ago, I get the set list email, like, oh, I need to go and learn a couple songs before the gig, check out some stuff. But that helps keep it fresh. And everybody that she gets to play, they're great. I mean, they're all adults. They are all responsible for their craft and their own emotions. So everybody can just relax with each other and have a good time. Yeah.
Well, the crowd is having. I was there a couple weeks ago, and
Yeah.
it was a full house.
It's been that way. Every once in a while, you get involved with something, and it's almost, you smell it. You feel the buzz start to lift. And it's like, so every week it's pretty much a full house, and at least like half of them it's new faces, which means that people are talking about it and coming to check it out. And that energy is also contagious and really fun.
It's funny you say that, because I wanted to ask you that question. I was chatting with a girl who was doing some backup singing for Alejandro at one of the shows he did a couple of years ago at the Continental Club.
Was it Carla?
She's the one who tends bar in the back. Is that her name? Or maybe she does from time
At
to
the
time.
Continental Club?
Yeah.
Oh. Or Clarita.
Might have been Clarita.
She gets up and dances.
Yeah. Anyway, I was like, tell me about the energy. What's it like when you're throwing it out there? What is it like? Because I feel that. I'm out in the crowd.
Yeah.
But what's it like when you're on stage with it coming back?
Yeah.
And she was going on about that. But tell me, you've performed all over the place.
Yeah.
What is it? That must just be a high.
It's pretty awesome. And it comes in different forms and guises, and depends on the room and the immediacy. And sometimes playing a really big show with a lot of people, you're kind of removed from it. And so you might think that would be, but in fact, sometimes it's not. Sometimes probably the most intense vibe I've ever felt was at the Continental Club from the audience.
Is that right?
Like it was back when I had hair, and it parted my hair, just like, wow.
What show was that? Who were you playing with?
Robert Plant. We got done with song number 1, and I swear to God, people screamed, and it kind of hurt my ears, but there was this psychic energy coming at me that was just like, holy crap.
That was Robert and Patty,
and
right?
Patty, yeah. Did 2 nights at the Continental Club. And that was such a special thing, because when are you going to see him like that?
Yeah.
You're not, ever, kind of, Both of those nights sold out, I think, in a minute and a half. Online.
I had no idea, but I think I don't know if I was with my ex then, or the kids, or what the somehow missed that, and tragically.
But it was just one of those things where I think people realized, like, this is a one-off that's never coming back, and they were just voracious for it. So yeah, it is a very singular feeling to feel that, and of course, ideally and oftentimes the band then takes that and gives it back, and then there's just kind of this feedback loop that happens between the band and the audience, and it makes the band a lot better than they would have been otherwise.
Wow.
So.
That is really cool. Tell me, I'm going to ask you to repeat a story that you told me.
Okay.
So Robert was living in town, and I guess you got to know him fairly well because you were, working with Patty.
Yeah. Well, actually, at the beginning, I wasn't working with Patty. I had just come off of like a 10-year stint with an artist named Alejandro Escovedo, and I was kind of in between major gigs, as it were. But I was living just blocks away from where Robert and Patty were living. Actually, less than a block, over there in Travis Heights.
Yeah.
And also another good friend of mine who also lived blocks away, she would always call me up and be like, hey, you should come over tonight. And I never know who would be there, but it would always be somebody really awesome, you know. And that was actually the first time I met Robert, was that. I went, she was like, you should come over tonight. And there was Robert.
Who was that?
Liz Lambert.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
And there was Robert, and then I find
Was that over at...
on Mary Street, where they used to live.
Oh, okay. I was thinking maybe it was over at the hotel, because you told me you used to play
I used to play, that was the same time. At the same time, I was playing at the San Jose every Monday, just doing a solo set of just instrumental guitar. But yeah, she invited me over, and I walk in, and there's this guy that, I've loved what he's done my whole life. But it was just a very natural feeling, and, we had a meal and talked, and we're drinking wine. And if you find yourself at midnight singing Dolly Parton songs with Robert Plant. And so that's kind of how I ended up meeting him. I'd known Patty already because I recorded on one track for her 1,000 Kisses album back in like 2001. And that's when I had first met her. So I'd known her already. And then the reason for the shows at the Continental was local artist Michael Fracasso was on tour up in the Northeast, and he got in a car wreck and broke his arm, had to cancel the tour, lost out on a bunch of money. So this was in order to help make him whole on that. They did these two nights. And of course, they couldn't really say it was either Patty Griffin or Robert Plant. Due to management issues and booking issues and stuff like that. So they billed it as Patty and her driver.
I remember hearing that.
So, and he asked me, that was when he was like, I hear you're good at kind of wrangling bands and putting stuff together. Will you kind of organize the band for this? I was like, sure. And then it was after those two nights that Patty was like, so you're not traveling with Robert now? And I was like, no. I mean, with Alejandro. And she was like, do you want to come and play some gigs with me? I was like, you bet. Like, let me check my calendar. Yes.
Well, would you tell the story of, and you, I don't know if you were there or you heard this secondhand, so I can't tell it second or third.
Right.
The story of Robert looking for a house in Austin.
I was not there, but
with the real estate
agent.
Go ahead, please.
I was not there, but I heard it from a person who was in the car, looking for a place to buy. And so he's got this real estate agent. I think the real estate agent
was... is Robert Plant looking for a house.
Yeah. I think the real estate agent was probably maybe in his late 20s and a gay guy, and was just showing Robert around the places. And, he's like, so what are some of the things you're looking for? Robert, well, and to preface... The reason I say that he was a gay guy, I think he probably had listened to more Celine Dion than he had Led Zeppelin. So he wasn't very familiar with the genre, and he was young, and So he's like, what are you looking for in particular? And Robert said, well, it'd be nice to have a little bit of an altitude, so I can have a view, and it might be nice if it was facing east, because there's a feeling I get when I look to the east and my spirit is crying for leaving. Quoting Stairway to Heaven, which he's like that, always kind of taking the mickey out of himself. To which the real estate agent went, wow, that's just so interesting. I never heard that before. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's such a great story. I've quoted it. I think I've put you in the car, though. Tell me, the most memorable show was the shows playing at the Continental Club there. What are some other clubs you like to play in town, and some other artists you like to hang with and play with?
For a while, the Continental Club was kind of like my living room, because I lived about 6 blocks from it, and there was a residency when I was playing with Alejandro every Tuesday night when we were not on tour. We were there, and there's a real, just a heart connection that I feel to that. I enjoy playing, C-Boys. I've played a lot of the venues. A lot of the venues that I've played in my time in Austin are no longer here. Like Liberty Lunch.
Yeah, everybody always talks about Liberty Lunch.
It was just a great.
I think that was before. That was '90s.
Yeah, it was just a big old shed, funky, but really good stuff coming through. La Zona Rosa no longer.
I saw some shows over there.
Yeah.
That was great.
So yeah, I mean, I've just played a lot. Right now, what is Joe Rogan's Mothership downtown, the old Ritz Theater.
Yeah.
I had a residency there on Thursday nights for a long time in the '90s, and that was a very heady, beautiful time with the band that I was playing with at the time. So.
What band was that?
It was a band called Tamer. In French, it means your mama.
Okay.
And it was kind of this world music outfit that was fantastic. I don't know how I got so fortunate to find myself to land in that. But we just made people dance all night, and it was something else. The front guy, Christian Fernandez, I often say I should pay him what I paid in college loans. I learned so much from him.
And where is he today?
He's back in France. He's French.
Okay.
He's from Marseille, but he lives in Nice now.
Did you ever see him when you go through?
I saw him the last time maybe probably 10 years ago. I think is the last time I saw him. But yeah.
Fun.
Yeah.
That sounds great. Now tell us about, we were talking briefly about Sims.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, Sims is one of those things in Austin that makes Austin a special place, and
Definitely.
also probably makes Austin livable for musicians with the high cost of living that's gone
Well, it definitely has helped out. There are a number of organizations that help. Sims being a local one. Music Cares is another one that's national.
Okay.
That kind of provides some of the same things, but it's a mental health resource for musicians, a chemical dependency resource for musicians, and there are lots of pitfalls in this line of work. So that kind of thing can be very well received and used a lot. So Sims has been a great thing. I mean, I've availed myself of therapy through it numerous times, and it's a very helpful thing.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So two. I was saying two of the founders of Sims, Don and Wayne, are going to come by here in another week or so, and I'm
Great.
super excited to hear their story.
Yeah.
And then we're going to have a non-official South by Southwest party over here on Tuesday, March 11th, with some local acts, and
Awesome.
Raise some further awareness for Sims to people who are not artists and maybe don't understand it, and try and raise some money for that. So
that's great. They can use it.
I'm super excited to, because music has just always been such a special thing for me. Yeah. And it kind of, it's kind of the soundtrack to your life.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's kind of the only magic that I know, really. It's like somebody over there in the corner can change the physics of the room, and my heart behaves differently. I mean, that's amazing. You can make people feel things. You can make people cry or laugh, or it's like it's a fantastic gift in this world.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic gift, and I think being in Austin, we're so lucky that there are so many talented people all over the place. I mean, I kind of, when I first moved to Austin 20 odd years ago, I was like, live music capital of the world, and I kind of chuckled like, really?
Well, you were a New York boy, right?
York, and this and that. And then I started to see what it was all about, and I'm like, oh my God, there's really great music
Yeah.
seven days a week,
Yeah.
like all day long.
Yeah, and the number of clubs, the number of listings, it's, and, you know, I mean, if you were to look at the Chronicle listings and all that, it's probably only about a third of what's actually going on. And any night of the week, it's hundreds of things to go see.
It's
You know?
remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And it's kind of always been that way. It's kind of like, well, Austin has really valued that. I feel like has valued the creative process in music, in a lot of things, but music is what has kind of come to the forefront in terms of the visibility. You know?
Any idea what was the original draw to bring the music to town?
I think it was the Cosmic Cowboys. I think it was.
But what brought them? Was it the university? Was it
Well, I
water,
mean,
or what was that?
you can go far enough back. I mean, like for instance, the Victory Grill over on East 11th.
Okay.
That was in the Chitlin circuit, and that was east side of town. That's where all the black acts would go play, you know. But you had all of this blues and country coming through town, and I think that definitely Willie helped a lot because he hung his hat around here, and so people would come because this is where Willie was living,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of the time, and it just became kind of this. That was where the kind of Cosmic Cowboy starting into the outlaw country. I think it had something to do with this place. I think it had to do with like Bakersfield, California, and here, and also Nashville. But Austin was always a little bit like Nashville was a lot more kind of corporate about it. And Austin always was maybe too cool to be corporate about it or too relaxed to be that way. It was much more like the slacker town. You know, like when I moved here.
What year did you move?
93.
Okay.
93, 94. My rent was $250. And there were all of these people, and like they could work in a coffee shop or wait tables 2 or 3 nights a week or for lunch shifts and be in about 3 bands. And live in decent apartments and have cars and like have time to go to Barton Springs or go to the lake and have a quality of existence that involved work, recreation, creation, all of that, you know. It felt really, of course I was in my 20s, so you have the eyes of a 20-year-old looking at that, you know. You know what I mean?
You do.
Now I'm in my 50s and I have the eyes of a 50-year-old, but the town has changed radically. There's no way you could live on a budget like that in this town now.
Yeah, I mean, I was going out to get a bite to eat last night, and I was like, you know, damn.
New York prices now, you know.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah. So, but I mean, a good part of that too is that, in my opinion, the Austin music scene is richer than it's ever been. You know, it's certainly more varied.
Is that right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's a lot more R&B, more hip hop. There's more Latin bands. There's more. I mean, it used to be that, you know, you had the blues. I mean, it was the home of the blues, kind of, you know, because you had Antones and Stevie came out of here, you know, and you had the honky tonk and you had the Western swing and you had the country. And you also had the folk movement, you know, that was, you know, especially because Kerrville's down the road, and, you know, so there was a lot of that here. But like, for instance, that band I was telling you about, Tamer, you know, the Chronicle Awards, every year we would get the best traditional Mexican band, and we didn't play a single Mexican song. That's how much people were dialed into other cultures. You know what I mean? Now it's like there's so many like amazing mariachi bands here. Like St. Edward's has a mariachi program.
Oh my gosh.
You know,
Mariachi band's great. Isn't
They're
that?
incredible. They're phenomenal. You know, that's the kind of thing that's really, you know, along with all of the growth that's Austin had, and there's definitely been some growth pains. One of the upsides, I think, is there's just
Diversity.
A lot more diversity and variety out there. Better food, better,
Yeah.
across the board. So,
Very cool.
yeah.
Well, what about taking us back?
Yeah.
Tell me about the big stones, the big people who've dropped into your life, who've, made an impression. And I love the fact you were telling me Keith Miller, who was
Yeah.
a big stone in my life, was
Yeah.
actually
He was a big stone in my dad's life.
in your dad's life.
Mm-hmm.
Talk
Absolutely.
about a small world. I mean,
I know.
that just blows me
That
away.
rang my bell when I watched that episode, and you said at the outset of it is like Keith Miller. I'm like, what? that's incredible. Because I mean, my dad was an Episcopal priest, and he was, I guess a spiritual advisor to a lot of people, and Keith was kind of one of, unofficially one of his spiritual advisors. I've had a lot of, I don't know, like if there's any kind of like super, like that was the one. I just feel.
I feel like they drop into your life at just all different times.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I can talk about a teacher, I can talk about friends, I can talk about Keith, but
Yeah.
just anybody that you'd like to say thank you to, or
Oh man. Well, definitely my grandmother and my mom. I think are two of really the seminal ones, and my father. But my father died when I was, in my early 20s. So there's been a number of decades where he was not accessible to me in terms of that, But he certainly, from a very early age, impressed upon me a number of things. And one of them is dedication to something. He made me, when I was in elementary school, he wanted to prepare me for college. He was that guy. And so my deal was, when I was in elementary school, he was like, you have to come home and do your homework, and then you have to do something creative for 2 hours. Which at the time sucked for me because that meant I couldn't go play with my friends. But in retrospect, it was incredible. And doing something creative for him was, I could read, I could cook, I could play an instrument. We had a little workshop, I could go build things, But it was definitely, you have to take your brain and you have to do something with it, That's not prescribed per se. Like, I'm prescribing that you take the time, but within that auspice,
listen to your heart.
yeah, do what your brain and your heart and your body wants. And that was super formative for me. My mom, I think that she might have been the most gracious person I've ever met. And she held space to treat everybody with dignity and with compassion. And she was also maybe one of the best accompanists I've ever experienced. She played piano. And she was very, very, very good. And she was one of those people that could, when playing and accompanying somebody, would just be there at all of those moments to just kick that person up the notch to where she knew that they could go. And that person, I could just see it happening. It's like just helping, facilitating, having someone be the best that they can possibly be. And having her heart be fulfilled in doing that for people. And that's something that it's been a stencil for me my whole life, is that approach.
I love that.
Yeah,
I've never heard that from you. I really
super fortunate that I drew the mom card that I drew.
Well, it's what I said earlier about you, making other people sound better. I mean, I've heard that from more than one of our mutual friends.
Yeah, well,
You know, I'd say something like, David was, you know, so on fire tonight and whatnot, and they're like, David is the guy who makes everyone sound better.
I like to hear that. That makes me happy and warm inside, and I will credit my mom with it.
Yeah, I love that.
It is. I got to a place in my growth where I realized that's the thing that I don't have to work hard at. It just comes natural to me. You know, for a long time, it's like you should be fronting your own thing and all this stuff, and it's like, well, what resonates the best? And for me, backing somebody up and accompanying them is just it's such a comfortable place to be. And I'm grateful that I get to do it. You know, I love doing it. So yeah, my mom definitely is just a massive influence on that with me, and it that bleeds into kind of all of life's realms, not just music.
No, I was thinking that while you were talking. I'm like, you know, that's how we should all be with everything.
Yeah, I think
Right?
the place would be a lot more kinder in this world if we kind of if that was the go-to. I mean,
If you can make everybody shine.
yeah, and there are people who I think want to do that, and I guess there's also a need in the world for the leaders who are like, we're doing this, and I'm taking us there. You know, there's a place for that. You know,
There's different kinds of leaders, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I
Yeah.
think everybody's probably doing their best.
Yeah. Yeah.
I try to, rather than critique, I try to take a look at a situation and say, what is this saying about me? What do I need to work on?
Well, I'm telling you, the I statements are a big thing. Another thing that I've learned is like whenever I'm in a confrontational situation or whatever, that's like the only thing I can do is say I statements. It's like, this is how I'm feeling. Mm-hmm. What can I do to make the situation better? You know, I can't be just pointing at everyone else and saying you and you and you need to do.
Help me
you know,
understand.
yeah, I need help doing this. I would like to be better. You know, that brings it right down to, I think, where the responsibility ought to lie. You know.
You betcha.
Yeah.
That is so cool. How about any musicians along the way that have...
Oh yeah, Alejandro
Well, I mean,
Escovedo taught me a lot. I'm really grateful to him. I spent 10 years with him, and he really taught me. I'd come from being graduating from a pretty highfalutin jazz school, with a jazz degree in jazz performance.
Okay.
And
What school was that?
the University of North Texas,
Okay.
up in Denton. And I was operating on a very kind of ephemeral and heady place with music,
Okay.
as a result of kind of having to go through the mental gymnastics that it took for me to graduate with that degree.
Okay.
I wasn't nearly as far along as some of my peers who were there, who had been much more steeped in that their whole lives, and so I wasn't heart forward as much as I could have been in playing music, but I had a skill set, and I had a good mindset about it, and so after getting done with jazz school, I fell into this world music scene, and I just got swept up with Latin music. And it's all I listened to and played for a while.
I love your Latin music.
Yeah, about 10 years. It's like Brazilian music, Cuban music, and it's all I was interested in. And that opened up a specific part of my heart in that. And then that's actually the reason why Alejandro hired me, is because he needed somebody who could play, you know, some electric guitar and and all that, but he really needed someone who could play like boleros and nylon string, and that was what I loved to do the most. So started playing with him, and he kind of reminded me of what I used to feel about music when I was 10. He took me all the way back there and made me kind of feel that again, where music is not notes. It's just these sounds, like we were talking about earlier. It's physics that make sound, that make you feel a certain way. And there's a mystery to it. And to get in touch with the mysticism of that was exactly what I needed to learn. It just completely changed my whole trajectory. And I'm forever grateful about that. It was like, oh, he would say to me, hey, don't think about notes, just make sounds. And for somebody who's spent like a lot of hours worrying about notes, for a minute it's like, if you could get over yourself and be like, what are you talking about? I can do all of these things with notes, but you don't want me to do any of that. And then all of a sudden the liberty of being like, I can just make sounds. And it's just, that's what his great gift is. He just paints with emotion and tone. And it's just like all this emotion happens. And I thought, wow, just incredible. So yeah, that was a big one for me. Learning from Alejandro was right on time what I needed to learn. And I've learned a lot from Patty, too.
Tell us about that.
I've learned from Patty that sometimes the absolute loudest thing that you can do is nothing. It's just, it's almost like, how to say it? It's almost like it's more effective to not go for the grand finale. Sometimes leaving it there. And everybody knows that that's what would be next. But sometimes to leave it there, not having done it, everybody knows that's what it is. You can just leave it there. It makes you walk away ruminating and thinking about it more, and it kind of bounces around your heart more. And you might actually be thinking about it for longer, and feeling it for longer because of that. She's really good at that, at kind of eliciting that heart response, and she can actually, it feels like she can scream with emotion while whispering, which sounds very Zen, but it's there, So I've had a wonderful time learning from her for the last over 10 years. And also another thing I've learned from both of them is having faith in somebody. And really...
In yourself and someone else?
Yes. Because, you think about, like, these are both two very, very effective songwriters. And then they're going out there with this thing that means a lot to them. And they're trusting other people to do it with them. And that is a real act of faith. And getting to the point where of like even being like with Patty and with Alejandro, it was also true too. Like we could be playing a song and I could play something completely different than the album, completely different than I played last night. But as long as I'm playing the heart of the song, it wouldn't matter. And they would be happy,
They give you that freedom.
As long as you're playing the song, not playing yourself, And that's a real act of letting go.
Sounds like an act of trust is what
Yeah,
you're
just
saying.
huge act of trust. And just letting go. And it's hard. Sometimes you want to, you know, dot all the I's and cross all the T's and control everything, you know. And there are people who do that really well. I mean, look at Steely Dan. Like, these are just, it's like a sculpture. It's just this monument that they took forever to do. And there's absolutely nothing on there that's left to chance. And that's one approach, you know. But the other approach of, here's the song. It's like, they're like Friends songs. And just, you know, treat my friend well. I want you to hang out with my friend and treat my friend well, love my friend, and we'll be fine, you know. And that's kind of a radically different approach of not that kind of formalized structure, but there is the structure of having faith in somebody and, you know, and trusting them to do the right thing.
Damn.
So, yeah, those are some great lessons that I've gotten to learn from some awesome people.
Patty did a new album this summer, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
You got a mum's a word on that, or can you say anything?
You know, I have absolutely no idea what it sounds like. Craig, who's, you know, he's producing and mixing it, or he's producing it, not mixing it, but we did a number of sessions. Recording with Patty is very, very organic. There's no like click track. It's like you get into a room together and you play the song and then you do it again. And there's not a lot of times when you're recording, it's like you record a song like say 5 times. And you'd be like, it's take number 3 was rock solid, especially the drums and the bass. That's our bed. All right, do we need to replace the guitar? Maybe we'll replace the guitar. All right, now let's add this. And then that was a scratch vocal, so we got a scratch vocal. And now we need to overdub this and this and this. And that's kind of how people build songs now. It's almost like building a house. You got this foundation that's rock solid. You put the walls up, put the roof on, you know. Or you go in and you be like, we played 5 takes and we're going to go with take number 3. All right, let's do the next song. You know, as opposed to replacing things. I like it. I mean, I value both approaches. Mm-hmm. But for me, definitely the more you take away from the original and add something after it, the more you kind of dilute the emotional response that you initially had, you know?
The less you stay true to the idea.
Well, yeah, or the less you stay true to the emotional intent of the time that everybody brought to it. Which is not to say that you can't come up with something awesome doing it the other way, but there's something really ballsy about saying, this is what we're doing, I'm doing it, and here it is. That's the way it went when we played it then. And that's how we were feeling it. You know, and you might nudge a couple things here and there within it, but largely it's the way it is. Because the thing is we play live all the time. So let's kind of do that. And just be really present in that moment and bring the heart to the forefront. Turn the brain off, turn the heart on. And there you go. You get what you get, you know. That's a good way. So that's the way Patty likes to record. And so that's how this whole album went. And I love the songs on it. And I love the treatment that the songs have been given, you know. But I actually have not heard it. So
that'll come out latter part of the summer, would you say?
I think probably in late July is what I'm hearing.
Okay.
They'll release it. And
then will you get on the road?
Then we'll probably hit the road in late August, early September. And then you generally have like a year to a year and a half where hit all the markets, and then the secondary markets, and then that takes you about a year and a half.
Fun to go see you guys.
Yeah, it'll be
Find
good.
out, take a look at the
Yeah.
schedule and
I'll let you know.
Figure out where I want to go see the show.
She'll do a hometown show for sure, but she doesn't do many hometown shows. Not that often, maybe
Well, I
once
saw
a
you
year.
guys in New York a couple of years ago. That was a really
Where were we at when we did that?
Oh gosh, it was some place in Midtown.
Oh, that's a fantastic room.
It was like something ballroom or something, wasn't it?
Oh, what am I? Oh, my
Forget it
gosh.
was a great old theater.
Yeah, it's like right by Broadway, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm spacing. If I stop thinking of it, I'll remember it.
Of course you will.
It's it's not the Old Town
Oh, I think it
Theater.
was. It was Old Town Theater.
Yeah, Old Town Theater.
That's what it was.
Which has got this amazing history. Like,
Really? What's the?
Well, so a number of seminal things have happened there. I think that, who was it? I know that the bass player, man, my brain is not firing on all cylinders right now. Bass player, a jazz bass player, who he wrote this very, very adventuresome, audacious piece that he tried. It was the last thing he did, and he tried to have everybody come in and play it, and it just failed miserably. And that was a sad thing because it was kind of his last hurrah. But he'd written stuff that was just too hard, and they hadn't kind of had enough rehearsal time. And then subsequently, after his death, posthumously, they got back together and went back there and did it right. And that was, what's going on with I'm going to get my phone. It's because I need to know that you can edit this out. But also there, I think that was where Charles Mingus, did that. It was also where I think maybe McCarthy made that a huge, it started the whole Red Scare thing. It was Town Hall, that's what it is, New York Town Hall Theater. That's what started the whole Red Scare, kind of persecuting people, blacklisting people who were in there.
That's probably in the 50s, right? Or is that the 40s?
40s.
40s.
Yeah.
Maybe just after World War II?
Yeah. That happened there. It's just been a very seminal, kind of historically seminal place where a lot of things have happened. And I do think that it was a place that was used throughout, probably in the 1800s as a place for political stump speeches and, a place where they would get together. So it's a very storied room for that.
Very cool.
Yeah, I like it a lot. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that was a Patty show. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember just randomly, I didn't know I guess we were all staying at the same hotel at the Ludlow Hotel downtown.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
And George and I were just happened to be downstairs getting breakfast or something. I was like, "That's who we're going to see tonight." And I went over and introduced myself,
That's right.
and she was just super, super nice.
Yeah, she's a sweetheart. Yeah.
Well, David, that was amazing. I love your song.
Well, thank you.
I love taking a trip down memory lane with you.
Thank you so much.
Hearing so many things that after all these years, I didn't know some of these stories. So it was.
Well, thank you
really
for
beautiful.
it. It's like it always happens, we sit down and talk, and I'm like, well, there went an hour. It feels like 10 minutes, buddy.
Yeah. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you. Great to see you always.
We're out.
Bye.